All right, thank you so much, everybody. I heard a woohoo for a Cubs. Who is the Cubs fan in the house? Anybody? No? I thought I heard one. Oh, right there. What's up, boy? What's going on? No, it's great to be here. It's really an honor. I sat where you guys are at, and I had a kind of a revelation that there needed to be some messages shared about how to you know talk about the things that really support the things we're doing. We build community strategies, but what about the things that make that successful? Instead of just hoping that your strategy works, paying attention to things before. So I put together kind of what I know about reigniting a community. And as David shared earlier, I think number 3, right, was the most frustrating part was disengagement. Not having enough engagement, or how do you get it going? So what I'm going to share with you is a little bit of kind of insights of what I've learned over the years. I've been doing this about 10 plus years, and I want to take you through a little bit of some strategies, hopefully that will help you. Quick show of hands, who has a community strategy today? Cool. And then who has a strategy to make sure that strategy is successful? Nobody? All right, cool. You're in the right spot. Hopefully, by the end of this, you'll have a game plan. You'll have some things to go forward with. I want to start with a really quick story. This may sound familiar, may sound kind of new to you, but I was at a meeting one time. I just moved my family from Chicago to California for a new community role, and I was sitting in a meeting, and it was a lot of leaders, stakeholders, and we kind of all went around the room, and they're all kind of doing the intro like when people do, and who are you, kind of intro to kick off a conference meeting. Got to me and I said, I'm the community strategist, community program manager, and they said, oh, I thought we were getting rid of that community, right? And then everybody around the room said, yeah, I thought we were getting rid of that. And I was like, wow. I quickly said, no, we're not getting rid of it. And then I had another kind of internal aha moment where I said, well, we need a plan. I can't just run into this bull in a china shop kind of situation and go through, thinking that all I need is just a community strategy of how to engage the actual community that we need to get going. There needs to be a plan before. So that's what I'm going to take you through. Is that my purpose is for you to walk out of here with with a plan. So one of the things. There you go. That's my first slide. I'm supposed to click onto that. So that's the key thing, and that phrase always kind of lingers in my mind, and it is very it's half inspirational, half kind of fear-inducing, but good fear-inducing in a good way. So that's a story I often share. So I'm glad you all relate. Who's been in a situation like that before? Yeah. All right. Great. Cool. So. One of the things is to realize in those kind of situations when you find yourself in that kind of meeting or after comments are shared is to realize what you're about to do is a transitional moment. And there's a really great book. It's called The First 90 Days. It's not about community, but it's kind of one of my go-to books. I built a lot of what I've done over the last few years around the concepts of that. So I'm going to borrow a little bit from that, but. There's a quote that's really important in the book, and I have it written by my desk and everything. And this is it right here. It's important to understand the moment that you're in, and essential in deciding or understanding that the situation you're in. It demands a certain set of skills. You can't just do what you've always done necessarily, and you're going to need some skills, and the ability to adapt to them. So a bunch of things are going to be coming at you. So you need to have a plan. So it's important, to know that, engagement or going from disengagement, it's a transitional moment, and that's really key, to really know that what you're about to embark on, is not just something that is going to happen by itself. And again, like I said, many of you raised your hands and said you do have a community strategy, but then not a lot of you said that you had a strategy to support your community strategy, an engagement strategy. And the truth is, you need more. If you want to be successful, if you're coming into a situation like that and you're not sure, kind of what to do, or if your community strategy is going to be successful, you're going to need more. So there's really two ways. Since we're talking about igniting fire, I want to put a couple of scenarios in front of you, just to kind of paint a couple pictures. There's definitely more than two ways to ignite engagement, but I'm going to narrow it down to two just because we only have a certain amount of time. So option one, you can go the Homer Simpson route, and just throwing flame gas on the fire, be surprised by the fire. Ooh, flamey, and just kind of go, oh, that's great, and hurt yourself, or hurt what you're going to do, or you have Godzilla, just kind of throwing whatever happens, at the situation, burning bridges, there's catastrophes happening. Godzilla usually steps on people, and he usually sets buildings on fire for no really purpose, and that's not our goal, right? So don't do option one, all right? We all agree on that one? Yeah? Okay, cool. Option two, survivalist, right? Being able to be in the unknown, the wilderness. That was kind of a wilderness situation that I described earlier, right? You're kind of like, well, there's some navigation, there's some thought process going to have to go into it. Option two, being thoughtful, being purposeful, being strategic. We have to get this fire going. We have to, use what we have around us. We have to do it in a slow, controlled way. So, option two. All right. So that's what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm going to take you through now what it looks like during the first year. So we're going to break it down in the first 90 days, and then 6 months, and then a year and kind of beyond. So the first 90 days, what do you do? So you're looking at three main buckets. Building trust and prioritizing, and establishing some expectations. So building trust, and basically what this is, what I used to do, and I still do it today, and I've done it in the past with new communities, is getting to know everybody and actually having a spreadsheet of their name, who they are, what they do at the company, what they like, what they don't like, whether it's food, movies, all that kind of things, just really kind of getting a catalog and understanding who they are. And that's internal and external too. So it's sitting with the head of support or people within that organization or in product, and then looking externally, looking at who are your super users, getting to know them. If you're inheriting a developer community and maybe you don't have developer background, you're going to need to know who those people are, who the people are that you can trust to do that. So you're really listening, and you're doing things like listening tours, and you're listening with a purpose, because you're building a plan. You're not just setting up meetings just to set up meetings. You have a purpose. And then as you do that, as you start to listen, you want to discover who the important people are, because you're going to come across a lot of different people that aren't really going to be important to what you want to do. They're not going to really help you essentially. So you want to prioritize those partnerships, because I know as community professionals, we get a lot thrown at us. We get a lot of people coming at us with all these different requests and all these different things that can really distract us. So you really want to make sure that you do a good job of prioritization and building those lists of who really needs to be talked to. And then business goals. So when you come into a company, you really want to pay attention to what the business goals are. Because again, you don't want to just develop a community strategy just to say, hey, this is what we want to do with this audience. You really want to look at what's most important to the owner. Pay attention to different town halls. Ask each person that you meet with, what are their business goals? And again, you're really making sure that you're writing those down. And then the next important thing is to set the executive expectations. So this is something where, in my current role, I report into our chief customer officer. And even during my interview with my current position, I asked them what's most important to him. Is it measuring ROI? Is it impact? Is it these different things that I could focus on? And then once I started, within the first time period, I told them what I was going to do. I told them, hey, this is what we are expecting you to do. And I made sure, asked them, hey, is this what you expect? Because that's often, we don't often ask that. And that's an important thing to make sure that, happens, is that you actually ask him or her, what is important. So I do these crazy things called ultra marathons. We have any ultra marathon runners in the house? Any long distance runners? We got a whoo up there. All right, cool. So the reason I do these crazy things, they're like miles and miles and hours you're running. The reason I run them is because it's a reminder to me to make sure that I know that what I'm doing, especially in a re-engagement situation, is it's a series of connected steps. One step to the next, to the next, to the next. Because again, once things get going, once you get into your new culture, or if you're in a current role and you're moving to this situation, maybe you're not moving companies, but what you're about to do and what you're doing, your engagement strategy, it's a series of connected steps. So you get to your second 90 days. So you're at 6 months. It's all about reviewing, assessing, and sharing. And again, this isn't necessarily something that is linear. This whole process. Some of these things are running in parallel. But at the 6 month time period, you want to go back to your notes. And I like to say those first 90 days, they're your map and your compass. They're your navigation system. They're going to tell you, who you need to prioritize, what you need to do next. They should be right there next to you when you're building your community strategy, so that you know what it is you're supposed to be doing. Because again, if you don't have that, then you're just kind of creating this strategy that is really, potentially off track with that. There we go. Got to point it at the thing. And then assess. So if you're inheriting a community, you might already have a strategy. You might already have something that's existing. You might already have a team. You might already have some tools. So I like to do what I like to call is a stress test, kind of figuring out what we got. And that can mean if you have a community manager, or if you have some super users, kind of figuring out where they're at, because you really don't know, and you don't want to make any assumptions about what resources you have if you're going to build a strategy, because it's really important for growth. So some of the things that I've done in the past is test the content skills of a community manager, and that let me know, do I need to hire a content manager? Do I need to hire something specific that is unique to the business goals, thus unique to the community strategy that we're about to do, that I'm putting together. And you need to commit to sharing that draft strategy. So that's something, again, that I did with my boss and with other people, with those stakeholders that I mentioned earlier, is commit to sharing the draft strategy. I know a lot of us are community managers and we like to work out loud, but sometimes we don't always share the things that we should, some of the most important things. And that's your strategy. Don't develop that in a silo. Certainly work on it yourself, but share that and commit to it. Let your boss, let other stakeholders know that you're going to be sharing that with them, because you're going to need their feedback. So that's something that you want to commit to early on. So the third 90 days. So we're at 9 months. Maybe a little bit longer to a year. So you're looking at three things now: momentum, wins, and communication. So you want to get a read on how things are going. I like to call it my momentum monitor. And there's some things that this is part scientific, but part not scientific. So you're really kind of looking for, is there a change? So that meeting that I told you I was in another meeting, same people, a little bit further down the road, and about 3/4 of everybody was like, they went from skeptics to champions. So that, to me, that told me that, okay, momentum is building. And then we also went to, we had to engage, there was a situation I was dealing with where our super users, our MVPs, they were disengaged because there was no staff engaged in the community. Those disengaged MVPs began to kind of see what we were doing, what we were changing, the tone and how we were engaging with them was changing. So I saw some momentum happening with that. And I also kept a close eye on the community, some of the metrics of active user rate, participating, contributing, starting to see how that's going. How is the community talked about in town halls? I've seen some good things, and then I've seen some bad things, and then I started to see some good things about other leaders, unbeknownst to me or unsolicited from me, talking about the community in a positive way. So those are all things we're looking for. And then your wins. So as you're looking for these and you're checking your momentum monitor and seeing what's happening, you want to look at what are your wins? What do they look like? Are there ones you should prioritize? Because all those different people, all those stakeholders that you were prioritizing and looking at whether or not you need to engage with them, each win that you're going to have might not be right for each person. So you kind of have to go and say, well, if I share this win with this person, this is going to get engagement and get them back into the community in that way. So you're pulling all these together. Hopefully, you have 3 to 5. When I first joined my current community, I actually had a win that wasn't directly related to the strategy. We had moved some ideas from a previous platform into our current platform, and it went well. And I was about a month into my role and inherited that particular project, and that was a win because I built relationships with people that didn't know me, but it was a win that was not related to the community. So kind of keep your eyes out for any kind of win that is going to build trust. Doesn't have to come from the community. And then your communication plan. Yeah, put out your bat signal, and basically all those wins that you were just looking at, start talking about them. Share them in the community. Publish them. Look for internal channels that you can put those in, because don't assume that everybody kind of knows what's happening in the community or it's visible. You have to talk about it, and you have to find ways to do that. So take those wins and start to put them in different places, internally and externally. And then 1 year and beyond. So you're 365 days into hopefully seeing some engagement, seeing things move in a positive direction, and you want to be able to measure progress and make some changes. Because again, don't assume that everything that you're doing is working. You're going to have to make some tweaks and changes. And this is it's my son Calvin, and that's us pulling away a bonsai tree. So you mentioned earlier in the intro there, I love bonsai trees. One of the reasons I love bonsais is because in order for them to survive and look the way they should, you have to pay close attention to what they're doing. And the slightest change in the leaf, they can die. So I like to look at bonsai trees in the same way I like to look at communities and a re-engagement strategy and see, are things growing? Are there signs of progress? Take a step back, just like Tiffany's session earlier was fantastic, because I think that's a lot of kind of stepping back and taking a reflection of reflecting of what you're doing. So essential tools. This is part of the talk where I think is it's kind of the glue. Everything I just shared with you, it seems like a sequential thing, and there's all these really important things happening. But there's been a couple really good talks here on this stage earlier by Kyle and then Tiffany about some things that, oddly enough, are very similar and key to what I'm sharing with you. And what I like to call, soft skills are spark skills. They get the fire going, and they keep things going. And one of the things is kind of summarize this in some do's and some don'ts, is that be self-aware in the moment. That's why I was upstairs there getting ready for the talk, and I heard Tiffany taking you through some really excellent the 5-minute journal. I do the 5-minute journal. It's part of my routine, and it helps me be self-aware, because especially in an engagement situation or a re-engagement situation, you're going to deal with detractors. You're going to deal with people that don't want to hear what you have to say, and you have to be aware that in those moments that it's not about you. It's where they're at. So be self-aware. Make time for reflection as well. And just again, take care of yourself through self-reflection. And then ask the right questions. There's a list. Rich Millington, I know he gave a workshop earlier in the week. He has a really great list of a lot of good interview questions that I've used over the past, and I kind of add my own to that. But I think it's really important as you're doing those first 90-day notes and getting to know people that you're asking the right questions. And then you want to be patient. Again, this stuff takes time. Again, growing bonsais, running ultra marathons, waiting for the Cubs to win a world championship, right? Right? Who's the Cub fan again? Right? You gotta be patient, right? So same thing with community. That's why I do all these things, because it helps me understand the realities of specific community situations like re-engagement or just communities, in general. And then, not to end on a negative note, but don't do these things. Don't expect or try to do too much too soon. Follow that plan. Make changes to it. Adjust it as you go. And please, 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 don't be a lone wolf. I know a lot of us fall in that category, I know I'm guilty of it, but I really encourage you not to do that. If you're at conferences like this, make partnerships, things like that. And then also don't be one-dimensional. When you're in those meetings, that's one of the things that I paid attention to when I was in that that meeting earlier that I mentioned. I don't just position myself as someone who knows how to build communities. I position myself as somebody who understands the business, understands our customers, understands customer experience, marketing, all these different things, so we don't come across as one-dimensional. Because a lot of what you'll do and to get really good engagement is that to be perceived as someone who's an expert, who's a go-to person with that. So all these things, hopefully, it's been helpful and can help you re-engage your community. So thank you.